Greetings, I am Audrey Salter, a fourth-year political science scholar with a minor in African American Studies from Yokosuka Naval Base, Japan.
Greetings, I am Darius Gregory Bowers, a senior political science scholar from Live Oak, Florida.
And today we will be talking about millennials and their endeavors in the conventional political process of running for elected officials versus their predecessors, the baby boomers. So Darius, from your understanding, how do you see our society shaping up with our new millennial leaders?
I would say that really it's time, because not saying that that we should disregard those who are already in office, but as society is changing, as the world is changing, as times are changing, I think it's imperative that more millennials, more of those who are of our age group get involved with politics. Oftentimes it's the perception of baby boomers and older citizens that young people aren't interested in politics. They're not interested in what's going on in society. They could care less what happens to the baby boomers, but actually that's complete opposite from the truth. You have different persons, even in Leon County, who have offered themselves for public service to serve not just the millennials, but to serve the baby boomers and all citizens in Leon County and abroad. So I would say it's important that that young people, millennials, start to get involved in politics and have a stronger hand in politics.
Absolutely, I definitely agree. I feel as though the younger you are, the more you're pushed towards unconventional politics. So taking to the streets with protests and things like that, because you're young, you're able-bodied. So they expect that to be something that you want to reference more, especially things like social media and things like that. But I totally agree with you. Running for public office, there's something that is just so important about it, and it's great to have diversity in the public office, because our government is not reflective of just baby boomers. Our government is reflective of a wide array of people, and it's a great idea for us to actually incorporate our younger citizens into this process. I feel as though, especially my grandparents, they take politics far more seriously, especially after the Voting Rights Act of 1965 and the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They see the salience of politics in their day-to-day life, and I'm feeling as though the millennials are starting to understand that politics, it's more than just allocations, appropriations up on Capitol Hill, and Supreme Court rulings. It's a lot that has to do with who you are, no matter what part of the country you live in, no matter your socioeconomic status, no matter race, religion, all that good stuff. And so I agree with you. It's about time, and I'm really excited.
Right. And to add to that, if you think about it, young people being in the forefront of political movements is nothing new.
Exactly.
Because if you think about Martin Luther King, he was in his 20s and early 30s when he was, leading civil rights movement. If you think about all of those who were on the bus boycott and using, different avenues of protest, all of these movements were led by college students. So, this is nothing new. As the saying goes, there's nothing new under the sun. So I think it's, as you said, time that millennials take the forefront and lead in engaging political activity. And, like you mentioned, social media. We're a social media driven age. So I believe by millennials being involved in politics, by them being on social media, it will engage a more diverse group of millennials to take more interest in politics. Whereas if it were just baby boomers, if it were just those who are older, they would be more passive, as we have been in the past with politics, because it's like, just a bunch of old people. Not saying that, but it's just a bunch of old people, what do they know? But they're more likely to listen when it's someone who are the same age as them.
Absolutely, yeah. So I know that this concern has kind of been raised by older people. Like, I know my maternal grandmother, she's extremely into politics. Like, she watches Chris Matthews every night. She wakes up in the morning to MSNBC and all that good stuff. And her concern is that we as millennials are going to disregard, our elders and not necessarily take care of them in the way that they have expected, their taxes and their social security to pay off. And so, what are your thoughts on that kind of concern? Do you feel that it's irrational, or do you feel that it's, a valid concern of older citizens?
I think it's a very valid concern. Being a millennial, I can say that we're very in the now, in the moment type of people. And we're more so, or we can often be more so concerned with what's going on around us at that present time, not so much looking towards the future or the concerns of the future. So I would say it's a very valid concern for our baby boomers and those who are older to be concerned with millennials being in office and not caring as much about the concerns of baby boomers, So it's a very valid concern. I would say, however, that there, I believe, are millennials who are in office who are concerned about what concerns the baby boomers and older generations. And I would say that hopefully that same track will continue, where there are conversations had between baby boomers and millennials, those in between, so that a compromise can take place, because politics is about compromise. So we can definitely hope to see those two, the bridge being between the two.
Hello, my name is Jasmine Ali, and I recently ran for Leon County Commissioner in District 1 of Leon County. I was approached by Darius Bowers and Audrey Salter about making a video to describe my experience as a millennial running for office. So, being a millennial and being a candidate, especially as a college student, is a very unique experience. You really have to command respect in every single space, and a lot of the times you have to prove that you're competent enough, smart enough, and that you have the maturity to hold an elected position. Additionally, there are a lot of roadblocks in place to prevent young people from really attaining power within our system, right? Young people are one of the most underrepresented groups within our government. Yet the legislation and the policy that is passed directly affects our everyday lives. So, a few of those things that stand in the way could be money, having a fancy degree, or the connections. And I didn't have any of that, but I felt that it was necessary for me to run, because there needed to be someone who can show others that it's possible. And the district that I chose, District 1, is a college district. Over 70% of the voters are under the age of 30. And both Florida A&M University and Florida State University fall within the district. So that was really fun for me to really be able to get in touch with young constituents and people who understood and felt the same things that I was feeling. The pros to being a young candidate, you're able to take advantage of the technology. I made my own website, ran all my social media. You're able to contact and really reach young voters and talk to them about things that they care about, because you care about the same things yourself. And that was really easy for me. I was able to win the college precincts. Now the cons come when you have to go up against tradition. And sometimes tradition isn't the best thing for everybody, but what people are used to is what they're going to vote for when they get in that ballot box. So I was going up against an incumbent, a very strong incumbent, and I had to prove myself every single day. People did take me seriously most of the time, and as a young person, you're kind of in the habit of doing homework, in the habit of being social, so you're kind of able to really gain off of those things, right? I was able to review stuff before I went into a forum or a debate, but anytime you mess up, people take it a lot with more than a grain of salt, versus someone who's older, they might just think it's a bad day. You have to reach people for money that you've never reached before, because the people who are in your circle, the people that you most likely know, aren't the people who are going to give $500, $1,000, or $10,000 to your campaign. That's just reality. So it's a lot of networking, a lot of talking, but since you're young, you have the energy, you can do it. It's important. A representative democracy requires people from different backgrounds, income levels, ages, education levels. So I really tell any young person who wants to get involved in politics, take a step out of your life, out of your bubble, and look at what's going on around you and look at different people from different backgrounds and the issues that they care about and find a way to tap into all those circles. Connect all of them, connect yourself on a platform of issues and go for it.
Greetings and humble salutations, everyone. My name is Richard Garzola, and I recently ran for City Commission C3 here in the city of Tallahassee. One message I want to leave Audrey and Darius off on is being a millennial running for public office isn't for the faint at heart. And I simultaneously will tell you I recommend doing it, and I recommend it to no one to do it, because it was the best experience I've ever done, the best thing I've ever done in my life, and I would have never been in the place I am today if it wasn't for it. Would have never met the people I've met, would have never, or people know me and relationships I've created and enact the changes I've been able to enact to this day if it wasn't for that. But at the same time, you know, if you don't have a clear mind and focus on what you're trying to change and do, and you have a purpose, if you don't have a purpose, you really can't do anything. But specifically in running for public office, you are pretty much writing on a piece of paper, I'm here to be a public servant and be for the people. So it means you're gonna have to take all the heat when things are not going right, and sometimes not get the credit when things are going right. But I knew that growing up, my mom always told me, if you feel like you can make a difference, you should step up and try. And that's what I want to leave all of you off with, is that if you feel like you can make a difference, whether that be here, whether that be back home, or wherever your future home is, step up and try. I mean, clearly 45 and our current president administration in the White House has showed you that you don't need any political background or experience or previously elected offices to step up and run. And in 2018 alone, we've had 600 to 700 millennials run for office. And I actually think it's because of the injustices we see not only in our local communities that have made us run for city hall and county government, but the injustices we see nationally and internationally done by that same administration has actually inspired us to do something about it, because we're tired of waiting and tired of the people who are already in those positions not doing enough and doing what they're supposed to do. My government doesn't look like me, it doesn't represent me, and that's why I ran. I said, okay, maybe I'm not old enough to run for Congress, and I'm not old enough to do those things, but I can affect my local municipality, make tangible changes through programming, through the community, through giving back and our wealth gap, and affecting the economic segregation I saw here in Tallahassee, and that's why I ran. I had a purpose, I had a why. I saw the discrimination that I personally faced when I first got here. So I wanted to affect culture-wise, I wanted to make a difference. But in regards to what it's like to be a millennial run for public office, I wouldn't advise being a student at the same time. I mean, I know I did it, I know Jasmine did it, but it wasn't pleasant to have to try to fundraise and raise money and go to class and take a test and then go to a debating forum at night, then spend all night making fundraising phone calls to end up with a couple $100s while your opponent has a business where he already has $100,000 in the bank. So, you know, that's where that disparity is in regards to being a millennial running for public office. It comes down to, at the end of the day, how many people you know, in regards to winning, how many people you know, your war chest, how much money can you raise, and how quickly can you do it? How quickly can you get your message out there? I believe any millennial can win in any race as long as they can get their message out there and enough people know about them. So if you're thinking about doing it, I advise you that know the issues, tighten up your policies, and once you come out there and you run like your hair is on fire, and you passionately speak and tell people your purpose and your why, and it'll grab someone's attention. Then if you can get the right donation here, the right donor there, and your message gets out there, then it'll spread and you can win. Because the only thing stopping millennials right now from winning, from what we see, is the lack of funds and money. And the lack that a 50 and 60-year-old might know more people than a 22-year-old. But if your message is good enough and better and you inspire the right people, and we already know the power of social media, anything is possible. So don't let anyone stop you. Thank you and have a blessed day.